Let's see there. How about movies that we saw in theaters?
Oh, okay, good one, good one. You wanna share what you got? What was the movie that the first movie you saw in theater?
Okay. One of the first movies I can remember seeing, and it was at the drive-in at the time in
Mhm.
1998. It was Godzilla, the '98 version.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow. So that's when, like, by that time, drive-ins were piping the sound through your radio, right?
I believe so. I want to
Because I
say.
know that, yeah, after a while, when you go to the drive-in, they would actually have a transmitter there so that you wouldn't have to take those speakers and hang it in your window. You can just close your window so the mosquitoes don't come in and eat you. You can turn your engine on to keep the AC, but you can actually hear it pipe through your car's stereo system because you just there's a radio station they tell you to turn to, and then that'll give you stereo sound. So
Oh,
that's probably how you experienced it.
what I'll probably say, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
hard to remember.
How old were you during that time?
Oh boy, let's see if I count. Is I was born in '92, so if I count, let's see, 7 years old or 8 years old, somewhere around that time.
Really? Wow, man. It's it. I was born in '68, man. So I've got a lot of history with a lot of these things, especially like the drive. I remember we used to get eaten up by mosquitoes at the drive, but it was so much. Uh, the movie I remember the most going to see at the drive-in was The Food of the God,
Oh,
H.G. Wells. I remember this poster that very day. You know, the woman hanging off the tree and the big giant rat on top of her and everything. And we saw that at the, I think it was called the Southwest Boulevard Drive-In in Kansas City, Kansas, man.
oh
And
yeah.
we were literally in our pajamas, sitting sitting on the hood of the car watching that, man. And it just getting just devoured by mosquitoes, man. But that movie, me and my friends talked about that movie for days at school afterwards. But that's the one I remember seeing the most at the drive-in. The movie that impressed me the most at the movies, first of all, was Blackula,
Oh,
because we had this grindhouse movie house in our neighborhood because when we were living in Kansas City, Kansas. We were like more in the lower income section of the city, and we had this grindhouse movie house called the Cameo, and there was holes in the screens, everything. And the cool thing about going to the movie was even if you didn't get there on time, say you go there and the movie was already half done, we would go and sit and watch the second half of the movie. But all we had to do was sit there and wait. They would rerun the movie again from the beginning. So we'll catch what we missed. By the time we got to the part of the movie that we walked in on, we left. So it's like we would see the movie almost in reverse. It's like, okay, this is the part where we came in on. Okay, it's time to leave. And the movie we did that was two movies: Blackula and Willard and Ben.
oh, I remember those. Oh
Man,
yeah.
it was crazy. The way they did with Willard, we would watch Willard to the end, and what they would do is they would loop Ben right afterwards, so it looked like all one long movie. Instead of okay, this is Willard and here's the sequel Ben. It was like they just strung it. I don't even know if they even spliced in the studio identification for Ben. I mean, they just spliced it in a way it looked like one continuous movie. So that's the earliest movies that I can remember going to the theater to see. But the most impressionable one was The Exorcist.
Oh,
So that when it came out, man, and let me tell you, you know, a lot of people that talk about The Exorcist now, mostly the Y gens and the Z gens, you know it from home video. Man, I was there. I was a young kid because it was like, I think it was like 73,
Yeah, 73.
maybe 73, 74. So, doing math, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 30. I was about 5, 6 years old when my sister took me to go see it. We left church and went to see it at the Cameo. And that's all she wrote, dude. That's all she wrote. It like the scariest movie I've ever seen. And what was cool was not so much just the movie, but the hoopla that was going on around the movie. The hype about the movie. People were passing out. People said this was the best recruiting tool for the Catholic Church that the Catholic Church had ever had, man, because people started going back to church in droves. We were in the middle of what they call the satanic panic, because in the news, we were inundated with news about Charles Manson and Tom LaVey and the Church of Satan, and in '68, Rosemary's Baby came out and stuff. So there was this air, crackling in the air of people being scared by the devil. And it's just the devil is real in everybody's life. To see it just graphically depicted on the screen, what can happen to you if you sin, you eat the extra cookie, or you go out on the drinking bench, this is what's going to happen to you, So it was like a serious morality story out there, man. So I just remember that time. It was a fantastic time for scary movies,
And a little story that when I first saw The Exorcist, it was on AMC Monster Fest X in 2006 because they were celebrating the 10th anniversary of Monster Fest. Or I may have seen it a little before that, but it was 2006 was definitely the year I first discovered The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And
by that time it had been watered down by so many imitators, because everybody, once that movie became famous, everybody was coming out with a, Exorcist movie.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was crazy. But one really fond memory I also have about The Exorcist was after I moved here in New York. I moved here in New York in 1995. And Warner Brothers was having a film festival at the Radio City Music Hall. And one of the films they were showing for this festival that was lasting the whole week was The Exorcist. So this was the chance for me to see The Exorcist on the big screen for the first time since I saw it as a kid. And not only did they show it on the big screen at fabulous Radio City Music Hall, man, I mean, it's legendary, They also had some of the filmmakers that were there. And Ellen Burstyn was there, and William Friedkin.
Awesome.
The director. And I had already had my VHS copy of The Exorcist. I'm like, man, I gotta get these guys, autograph and stuff like that. And after the movie, they, talked to the crowd, they talked to the audience and everything. And I was trying to find a way where I could get to Ellen Burstyn and get her to autograph my box, man. And, I was like, I don't want to be that guy who was like, oh, come on, can you give me my autograph and stuff like that. I said, I got a little bit of tact about this. So after the festival's over, everybody's leaving, walking up at 6th Avenue. I saw Ellen Burstyn. I said, man, this is my chance. So I walked up to her. I said, Miss Burstyn, big fan of the movie. And she was very sweet, man. She was great. She's like, sure, I'll write autograph, because, I was thinking she was going to jump in her limousine, get out there quickly before crazy fans start following. But she was very, very accepting. She was very graceful. And, we had a little chat, and she signed it. And then shortly after, I ran into William Friedkin. And he autographed it, talked to me and stuff. And I asked him a question. I said, William, I understand that the model that you guys used for The Exorcist, where her head turns around, is in a museum here in New York City. He's like, yeah, there's a museum called the American Museum of the Moving Image, and that model is on display at that museum. I'm like, what? And they just built this museum not shortly before all this happened. So he confirmed to me that, and I went to the museum, and sure enough, there it was.
Oh,
But yeah, he was very accommodating too. They were really graceful.
it's awesome. And another thing about The Exorcist, in 2013 when they brought it back to theaters for like I think it was a 2-night run or something, and
Mm-hmm.
I got the chance to go see it, and what an experience! Um,
Yeah.
and I can remember there was this one lady in the audience when I think it was either the spider walk scene in the film or one of the other scary scenes in there, and the lady jumped up and she said, "Oh hell no!" and walked right on out.
She dipped out of there, right? That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, because as you recall, I saw the original version of The Exorcist that did not have
Yeah.
that scene in there. And when they talked about that spider scene, the home release of The Exorcist, and this is before they started showing it back on the big screen, like you mentioned it.
Yeah.
One version showed us as additional footage at the end of the movie, where you go to your DVD and you choose, okay, let's look at the deleted footage. They showed the original version of the spider walk scene and the way they cut it for the original movie. And they showed her coming down the stairs backwards, but she makes it all the way down to the end of the stairs, and you see Ellen Burstyn's character run and almost like tackle her onto the floor, and then it fades away. So you can tell that was the clip that was originally supposed to be in there. Okay. So, I looked at it and it looked unnerving, you know. But when they said, okay, well, now we're going to release The Exorcist theaters and we're going to show the spider walk sequence, I'm like, okay, I've already seen it. It's not going to be a big deal, I'll be glad to see it. But what makes it any different than what they've already showed as this? So when I saw it in the theater, they did a completely different thing to it. They did a whole completely different version. Instead of her coming all the way down to the stairs and being tackled by her mother, they do that close up of her face where she goes, and the blood comes out of her mouth. And that scared the shit out of me, man. I was like, what? I wasn't expecting that because I thought I saw the spider walk scene. Man, they showed that. I was like, oh, God. And it still scares the heck out of me when I see that part. Like, anytime I go back to look at it.
Yeah. And I can remember like the differences from the theatrical version and the extended director's cut. Like, I remember they showed like a little extended, like a scene with the devil face that would pop up, that creepy face.
That white face. Yeah.
I think it was the part where Linda Blair's Reagan character was just sitting there. I think she was at the doctor, and then you see you see her, and then the devil face pop up. It's like, whew.
Yeah. There was a scene also where I think this is when Burke Dennings, the director, before they find out that he got killed.
Yeah.
And I think it was Miss McNeil. I forgot her character's first name. She comes home and the lights are blinking, and she walks, and you see that devil face appear like on the oven range.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God! I don't remember that, and I realized that was one of those little moments where they added that little touch to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it also showed when she was up in the attic. Remember when Ellen McNeil went up to the attic with a candle?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the face there, but yeah, that was scary. But what was also cool about the new version was they added the scene, or they restored the scene that they had cut out from the original, that gives it a direct link to Exorcist 3. And I believe that part was in the book too, but they filmed it for the movie, but they ended up putting it on the cutting room floor. It's the very end. And remember where Father Dyer comes and sees the stairs, and then they start playing Tubular Bells, and then they show The Exorcist, and the movie was over. Okay, that was the original version. The second part, they showed him looking and then he's walking down the stairs, and he runs into Detective Kinderman, who is played by Lee J. Cobb.
Yeah.
And you see in that scene, which was very important, that that was the beginning of them starting a friendship that would bond them together. You know, they were both friends of Damian Karras, and now they're carrying on this friendship years later, and that was the first moment they become friends. And he's like, hey father, you want to come to the movies with me? Yeah, what's playing? I forgot we were Singing in the Rain. Yeah, I saw it. Groucho Marx is playing this. He's like, okay, I seen it. Yeah. So, and it shows them walking away in this restored version. Well, in The Exorcist 3, this shows them continuing on that friendship, because the character of Father Dyer and Detective Kinderman have always since then been meeting, and they tell you they've been meeting every year on the anniversary of Damien's death to go and watch a movie together. And so I think that added ending to the original linked the two movies beautifully. But I still also like the original way, where they just cut it where, Father Dyer's looking at the steps and he turns and walks away, and they play bells. I like that ending as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, remember the pea soup scene?
Oh, yeah. That movie will always be notorious for the old wretched pea soup. The projectile vomiting. Yeah, that movie, that part was incredible. I remember not even expecting that to happen when I saw that first time at the movies. It was like, what's my mother's name? You ought to know my mother's name. Oh my God. So that movie was an assault to the senses. I mean, I remember as a kid trying to decide whether I should do this or this, cover my ears or cover my eyes, man, because even if I wasn't seeing what was on the screen, the sounds of what was going on was freaking me out, man. I'm like, trying to decide which to cover first, But, and I don't think there's been a movie that has done that for me since. Now, I got to say, I love a movie that makes me genuinely scared now, because I just love watching horror movies, period. Okay?
Yeah.
But do they still scare me is a different thing. I watch it to get that thrill of, wow, that was good, blah, blah, blah. But when I see a movie that scares me, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to see this. The movie that actually now makes me cover my eyes, and it's any type of movie that deals with sharks.
Oh.
Though I just realized, because I'm like, man, I'm not in my 50s. Look, I love horror movies, but do they really scare me now? I saw, I think, 40 meters below 2 or something like that.
Oh.
And I realized, man, those movies, they are wear on my nerves, man. Any dealing with sharks, it wigs me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, have you ever seen the movie The Reef?
The Reef? That title sounds familiar. I haven't seen it, but I think, didn't it have Nick Nolte in it? Or...
No, actually. Oh, I know. No. I know what you're talking about. No, that's The Deep.
Oh,
The Deep,
okay.
with I think it was Jacqueline Bisset and Louis Gossett Jr. and Nick Nolte. Yeah, that was The Deep. That was Peter Benchley.
Oh, okay.
From Jaws as well. No, this is a movie that was made not too long ago called The Reef, and the story where these people were out boating out in deep water, and their boat capsized and was upside down, and they decided, okay, we're going to swim to an island or the mainland, and they're basically out in the middle of the ocean, just in scuba gear and bodyboard, and they're, one guy only has a pair of goggles, only one guy. And they're trying to make it to the next bit of land wherever they can find it.
Okay.
And man, there's a shark. There's going to be a shark out there eventually, okay? And the guy that has the goggles, they're swimming, and the people, they're bobbing on top of the surface, and they're like, wait a minute, I just saw something cut the water. And he's like, it's probably nothing. It's like, no, we just saw the water churn. And he looks underwater, and that scary subjective sight, you looking through the murky water, trying to see, he doesn't see anything. He comes up, he's like, I don't see anything. He's like, no, we just saw something. Yeah, I don't, take a look again. So the guy goes back under the water, looks, and you see this big, giant, great white shark in the distance, man, like just casually coming by, and the guy comes up, he's like, yo, there's a shark. There is a shark out there. And that type of situation, man, is horrifying, is terrifying. I do not like being in natural bodies of water because of that reason, So yeah, I would say a movie that still scares me now, those type of movies.
Yeah. Speaking of those type of movies, remember Open Water?
Yes, yes, yes. That's a horrifying situation too, man.
Yeah.
To be forgotten, left out in the middle of the ocean, nobody knows that you're out there,
Yeah.
and having to spend the night. I mean, they were there several days. Nighttime comes and you're still floating in the middle of the ocean. Gosh, that's it's horrifying to me. So, what movie scare you now? Does any movie still scare you, so to speak?
Ooh, let's see. Going back to The Fly 1958, that still will scare me, even though it's like, even if I'm in my adult years now. I don't know, it's just still something so chilling about when I see that famous fly mask.
Yeah. So, you felt that the remake did a pretty decent job?
Oh,
because I love it.
Oh, the remake, that's another one of my favorites. I freaking love that one. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis. I love the practical effects in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a real quick little fun trivia that I worked at a haunted attraction last October, and part of my job when I was acting there, I incorporated a little bit of Jeff Goldblum's mannerisms from The Fly into my performance.
Really?
Yeah, and I also got, I was the Fly, but not accurate to the movie version. Is it? I guess almost as close to the original, but not the Fly head. I was in makeup, but yeah. So I would take like the mannerisms, and I would go like that, and do some head twitching like that, and I would.
From the Fly, yeah.
And I would bend my body like that.
Oh man, awesome.
Yeah. And I would come up with my own lines and say, "I'm hungry," and I would say, "I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die." Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
First fly politician going to insect politics. Yeah. Did that pretty well, man. I like that.
Yeah.
So you were in the haunted house circuit, you saying?
It was in a haunted cornfield instead of like a haunted house. It was a lot of fun out there. It was challenging, of course, but still, other than that, with the challenges, still just a great experience.
I bet it was lots of fun. One thing I miss moving here to New York were the haunted houses that were in Kansas City. To me, Kansas City had by far the best haunted houses, man, because it wasn't just a one location that you went to, or I should say like a separate building that you went to. It was a whole area in Kansas City that housed, I think, 4 haunted houses in one like square mile area. And it was a section of Kansas City called the River Key. And the way you get there was it was part of the interstate system, and the interstate went down this slope to the river's edge. Now, at the river's edge, that's where old Kansas City was established, like back in the 30s and stuff. So you got all these old office buildings, 30s style buildings, and warehouses. in this place, and lots of like railroad tracks and stuff off in that area. So it's spooky, 24/7, 365 a year, man, just being that dark. So around this time now, like in September, late September, going to October, the place is abuzz with activity because these 4 buildings are commercial haunted houses that they keep their stuff there all year round, and when it's time to open, they just come and flip on the lights, and a lot of them are family owned. And so people come down there in droves, man. So at the end of that bridge or that overpass that comes down to the River Key, at the base of the overpass, hundreds of people, man, and they're going in different lines to each of these different haunted houses. And when you get the ticket to enter one haunted house, you get a discount ticket to go to the next one. So, you get some money off to go and see the other ones. And the names of them were The Beast, The Devil's Dark Side, The Edge of Hell, and Catacombs. I remember to this day. And they were all like 5-story buildings. And you go up and they were the most elaborately designed haunted houses, man. And you're going up the maze of these 5 stories. And at the end of each one was a 5-story slide that took you back down to the street level. And you slid so fast down this chute. There was a chute that made you slide. They actually had this mat at the end, like it was almost like a landing strip at an airport. You're going so fast, they've got the whole thing covered in baby powder, so it's nice and slick and very slippery. But when you come down there, you're so fast, they actually tell you, don't move, don't even try to stop yourself. We've got 4 people at the bottom here to help you back up to your feet. So because you're panicking and everything, you can't get up, and 2 seconds later, there's somebody coming right behind you. So they would tell you, just relax, just go with the flow. We'll pick you up in time before someone else comes. And that was at the end of every haunted house, man. And it just brings back memories, and I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, haunted attractions, all that cool stuff. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, checking the time. Okay. And going back to like another movie that scared me. I can remember one movie I saw in theaters. This was in 2009, if I remember. The movie I saw in theaters was The Fourth Kind. I don't know if you remember that one.
No, I haven't heard of that one. The Fourth Kind?
Yeah. It has Milla Jovovich from the Resident Evil movies. And she plays, I think a psychiatrist or psychologist, or she plays a doctor in it, and they make it look
Somebody
like it's
with the head, yeah. One of those.
Yeah. And I found out later that the movie's not based on a true story, but that's how damn good they made it look real. But anyway, so yeah. And seeing it on the big screen, I only saw it just once on the big screen, and maybe like a couple times like here and there after. But oh my gosh, that movie freaked me out.
Oh yeah, gotta check that out then. It's available streaming.
Oh yeah, it should be. It's like
okay.
It's like aliens possessing a body, and just the way the aliens take over the bodies, it's freaky.
The Fourth Kind. Okay, check that out.
Yeah,
because we're all was Friday, and officially hit the person household is Friday Fright Night. So what? The computer keep doing it. Okay. Friday Fright Night. So we all decided a movie, but we saw one the other day that was pretty good. It was called The Sonata, like a musical sonata.
Oh, I heard
and yeah, it's good. It's like one of the last movies with Rutger Hauer that he made before he passed away, and it's a really chilling story. I mean, well photographed, well acted. The pacing was really good. Cinematography, I don't know. I keep okay, but yeah, I thought that was like one of those surprise hits because we're always trying to. Man, I'm sorry about this. I don't know what my peers are doing, but we're always trying to find new movies and stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay, let's see something we haven't heard of before or something that's up here, and we've come up with some pretty good surprise hits, man.
Yeah.
The movie Where, WER, that was a good one. You know, it was a nod to the werewolf traditional film, and it was very, very effective.
Oh, that one I haven't
Um,
seen or heard of.
oh yeah, see that, man, because we love werewolf movies.
Yeah.
Probably the best werewolf movie to us was The Howling. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
yeah, we love that even more than American Werewolf in London because it was serious, and that's a whole conversation right there. But this movie Where it takes the werewolf legend and puts a new twist to it, a terrifying new twist on it. So I really recommend that you see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna find that and look it up later.
Yeah, yeah. So what made you decide to like monster movie? What was it about you that made you like, wow, you know, I like this better than any other type of movies? What drew you to horror?
Honestly, just watching so many of them growing up, like aside from The Fly, like also watching like Creature from the Black Lagoon or Them, and see The Day the Earth Stood Still in there also, and just
Oh yeah,
in 1955 a movie called Tarantula,
I remember that.
and that was one of Clint Eastwood's first appearances on screen too.
Wasn't he like some scientist assistant or something like that?
In the movie Revenge of the wait what? Yeah, Revenge of the Creature. I think it was the sequel to Creature from the Black Lagoon. He played in that one as the scientist type, but
Yeah.
and in Tarantula he played a pilot. And
Oh, okay, okay. Because I knew, yeah, I remember seeing him in the Creature from Black Lagoon sequel. And of course, you know, he was I Was a Teenage Werewolf, of course.
oh,
No, was that no, that was Michael Landon. I'm thinking of Michael Landon. He was I Was a Teenage Werewolf, the guy from Little House on the Prairie.
okay,
Yeah, he was the werewolf in that. But yeah, yeah. It is cool seeing a lot of those early actors pop up in those movies, you know, getting
yeah,
their start. And that's why I love Roger Corman so much
yeah,
because Roger Corman, I would say, pound for pound, would be the director that I wish I could be in regards to movies because he was able to take he hired great writers. I mean, like, come on, like Richard Matheson, you know,
yeah,
these guys, you know, they came up with tight scripts. He got good talent, you know, like Vincent Price, of course, to be in his movies. But he was able to make things on a shoestring budget, you know, using the sets from the movie Beckett to do Mask of the Red Death. It's like, okay, well, you know, before you guys tear down the set, you know, keep this set up and keep this set up, and I'm going to make a movie around it, you know. And you see he uses footage over and over again, you know, that castle on the mountain, on the cliff. That castle's been photographed in this movie so many times. And it's like he's the images. But he always came out with a pretty, especially during his Vincent Price years, Poe series. Turned out a
yeah,
pretty good product. But what made him such a good director was that he was the mentor of a lot of guys that went on to become great directors themselves. Coppola, Ron Howard. You know, he launched those guys' careers. You know, I'm not sure if De Palma worked with him, but I know Jack Nicholson definitely worked with Roger Corman.
yeah,
Yeah. So he launched the careers of a lot of these guys and taught them, you know, basically helped them to cut their teeth in movies. So I love Roger Corman stuff.
yeah. Well, with this video, I'm gonna go ahead and make this like the ending. I don't know how long this is gonna be, but when I edit and stuff. But this has been like a fun time here.
Man, it was awesome talking to you, and thank you for letting me run my mouth, man, because I
Yeah.
can talk about stuff forever, forever. But I hope that what I gave to the conversation was a sense of, being there at most of these times, from through the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
could be a resource for you to let you know how the times were when these movies came out and stuff like that. And, I like to be a resource for you in terms like that. And I love talking this stuff, man.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and real quick, like I will say, if anyone would like to subscribe to your YouTube channel, the gosh, why I'm blanking on the name. The
Oh, it's all right. I have things myself too, man. It comes with age. Comes with age.
yeah,
It's called the Midnight Shop of Shadows.
yeah. So if anyone would like to subscribe to the Midnight Shop of Shadows, and I remember you did a book video on there.
Hmm. The first video was a review on the 6 books that influenced me to look at horror than just as a fanboy, but as a source of serious academic study. So these are the books that
Okay.
influenced me to take horror seriously and to look at the history and the social and cultural impact that horror has, and not just horror movies, but horror in general, from the time when Gothic literature came out to the movies that have been coming out and stuff, and
Yeah.
just kind of looks at the that influence that.
I'm just thinking like different horror novels, and just so many great ones out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I plan to do some more episodes on the books themselves. Like a lot of the Gothic, especially talking about H.P. Lovecraft with the show Lovecraft Country that's on HBO now.
Yeah,
Now it's starting to put the name Lovecraft in people's conversation, and he's becoming a household name. And so people are going to naturally start becoming curious about who was this guy H.P. Lovecraft, and how did he write, and what type of stories did he write, and how does this incorporate with this popular series that's out now.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to explore more things like that in my episodes of Midnight Shop of Shadows.
yeah. And I'll be looking forward to the next video.
Hey, thanks, man. My wife's been on me. Get that out there. Get that second episode out there and do it before. I'm like, okay, I got you. So you can almost expect it before Halloween comes out. So hope that
Okay,
by Halloween, get that nice second episode out.
awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right here. And it was awesome to talk with you about horror.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. All right. And for everyone watching, have a spooky time. And close out on like a spooky laugh, going.
Yeah.
And a little Chucky,
Awesome.
and my Chucky laugh. I can do it better if I really concentrate hard, but I'll give it one more try.
Oh man.
Ooh.
You see the hairs right there? They're raising right there. You're raising the hairs right there at the back of my neck, man.
Anyway, that's it.
All right.